This is episode 4 of the audiobook series, Finding My Own Pace. We're going to talk about perpetuating factors today and how they fit into my journey going from moderate to mild symptoms. This is my next book, which we are working through together, Finding My Own Pace. It will be out in May 2026. In this episode, we're going to talk about perpetuating factors and what they have to do with living well with chronic pain and fatigue and the related conditions that we're talking about. You can catch the other episodes in the Finding My Own Pace audiobook playlist, so make sure you check those out if you are curious. Perpetuating factors are one key part of getting to where I am in my health journey. Perpetuating factors are those things that are either causing or continuing our symptoms. We want to create a virtuous circle, but usually we're creating a vicious circle. And there are several parts to perpetuating factors. So the first is our lifestyle. So there are lifestyle components that are going to be contributing to our symptoms and also keeping them, maintaining them. So that is stress. For example, at the beginning of my journey, not only was it incredibly stressful trying to live with high levels of pain and fatigue and terrible sleep and absolutely no help and being gaslit and having no one who understood, but also regular stress. I had a boss who was a bit of a bully. I found them very stressful to work for. They were not super professional, and it was just a very difficult environment to work in. And so living with that level of stress was never going to help any part of my journey. But also trying to live normally, trying to do all the things I was supposed to do as a 25-year-old person, and living with those symptoms was incredibly stressful. So part of my turnaround, part of the better part of my journey was actually moving back in with my parents and moving across the country. So we moved to a warmer climate. And by moving back in with my parents, I created a little bit of space so that I could reduce my work hours. So I reduced to what I call 3/4 time. So I moved to 27.5 hours a week. And that created space. I was starting to pace and I reduced the stress in my life. I also increased my ability to do those things I needed to look after myself. But this is obviously, you can tell, a big, complex and interconnecting issue, and we can't go into all of it here. So I'll simply say lifestyle issues such as stress, or if we are not eating well, maybe we're living on white carbohydrates because our body desperately needs energy and it feels like that will fuel us, but what it is picking us up and dumping us down. All of those things, not having enough water, not being able to move or get outside, lifestyle factors are contributing here. Another important part of perpetuating factors are other conditions, and it's prevalent here. I know I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia only for a long time, and it's not till many years later that we've realized that it's actually other systems happening, other things going on. And so my underlying situation is hypermobility, and I had endometriosis. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but the reality is that these very real physiological conditions were happening and I was not being treated, and they were attacking my body. And therefore, not only was I dealing with the symptoms of those things, but it was upsetting my nervous system and creating a whole lot of other symptoms. My nervous system was a mess because it had all of those signals. Every month, the periods would slam the nervous system. Pain, therefore danger. Every time my joints went out of range, when they were hyperextended, you send a message to your nervous system. And I was in a lot of pain. I had, like I said, a stressful environment, and I was being undertreated and essentially gaslit. So all of these things swirl to make the perfect storm of just an overactive nervous system. And that leads to the next thing, sleep. It was almost impossible for me to sleep. I slept very badly. I had very poor quality sleep. I struggled to get to sleep and stay asleep, even though I was shattered. I was so tired at all times. And I woke up more exhausted than I went to bed. And again, you can see how these kind of all work together. All of these things need to be addressed before you're able to start managing chronic pain and chronic fatigue better. And that moves on to the next part of perpetuating factors, and those are illnesses, vitamin deficiencies, that kind of thing. Maybe you've got a food intolerance and you don't know it, and that's contributing as well. So we need to find the perpetuating factors and start treating them. And that's not going to be easy, but the sorts of things that I would start with is go hard on sleep. And we will get to sleep in a future chapter. Create an excellent pain management plan, and we'll talk about that in that chapter. And start working on pacing. So we're starting to create that virtuous circle. We want to talk to our doctor about getting some testing so we can figure out what are our personal deficiencies. A lot of people talk about deficiencies and supplements, and some of these plans will have you on 10 or 15 vitamins, but the reality is you should only really be taking what you need to take. So talk to a doctor about what are your personal deficiencies and see how you can mitigate those. Look into what you might be putting into your body that is not suitable for your body. Maybe you are intolerant to dairy or gluten. Figure that out and throw yourself into making sure that you are fully diagnosed and treated properly. They could have treated my endometriosis a long time ago, and I would be in a very different position than I am now. It got worse and worse, and it wasn't until I was 37 years old that they recognized it was endometriosis, and it wasn't just additionally painful periods because of fibromyalgia. And having the surgery, having the endometriosis excision and the hysterectomy, despite the 1-year recovery time from the operation in which I was quite unwell, has made all the difference. I have slowly gotten better and better. And then figuring out that I was hypermobile, that I was accidentally overextending my joints, that my SI joints were often out of place, having them be put back regularly has taught my body to keep them in place. I'm more aware of where my joints are, and I'm putting them out less often. And I've also started a very gentle strength training routine to support the muscles in the joints. And this is just an example of all of those perpetuating factors. So I hope you can see, I know that probably sounds a little bit overwhelming, but everything in the rest of this book is going to show you everything I have learned in my journey over the last 14 plus years. So don't forget to join us for our next episodes. We're going to dig into the major symptoms, the major treatments, and all of that good stuff. And I thank you for being here. If you would like to be part of the pre-order crew, then you will get instant access to a library of resources that will help you with these things, sleep management plans, pain management plans, all of that good stuff. And you will get each episode of the audiobook in advance of the public, and then you will get the full manuscript in PDF form in advance of everyone else. So if you would like to join that pre-order crew, go ahead and do so. If you have any questions about perpetuating factors or the book, let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this, found this helpful, please do share it with a friend who could find it useful too. Thank you for being here, my friends, and I'll see you next time.